In 2020, one story has consumed everything. But in 2021, the world will start looking to life beyond the pandemic.
America has dominated global finance since the end of the Second World War, when the current system was built.
Designed to establish the economic foundations of peace on the bedrock of genuine international collaboration.
So we wonder why today we have a rise in socialism and communism and fascism and the anger against the rich,
When we go into a bank and we ask for a loan of, say, $50,000, £50,000, what actually happens? What actually happens is you ask for £50,000, they type into your account £50,000. That's all they do. They don't mint any coins, they don't print any money, they don't move any precious metal anywhere. They just put £50,000 into your account on a computer screen. From that moment, you start paying interest on money that has never, does not, and will never exist.
These young senators and congressmen, they want to tax the rich, to charge them 70% taxes and all this. And I'm going, why are they doing this? Well, it's because our schools don't teach us about money. It's not going to change. It's just tragic. So when I ask people, so what does school teach you about money? Get this, and I said, does it teach you anything about money? They go, do our political leaders know anything about money? There's this, like money is the root of all evil in many people's minds. But we all use money. That's the irony of it.
It turns out that banks actually have about 9 times as much money loaned out as they have on reserve in their vaults. This is possible because of what's referred to as fractional reserve lending. The way it works is that the Federal Reserve, or the central bank in any country, is legally allowed to determine the amount a bank must have on reserve. In the US, it's currently around 10%.
Well, the banks run the world. It's called the central banks of America, the Fed, the ECB, the European Central Bank, PBOC, People's Bank of China, the Bank of Japan. Capitalism is run by a central banking system. That's called communism also.
Yeah.
Nothing for me sums up the scale to which we have conceded our power to control our own lives than the world financial system. I love this one, mate. One of the great diversion techniques that's used upon us is to make very simple things, which the world financial system is, sound ever so complicated. So what we have almost every night on the news, we have economists wheeled in front of television cameras, surrounded by computer screens, talking in a language we don't understand. I think it's the Chancellor's M3 policy. I thought the M3 was a motorway. I don't know, something to do with money apparently, I don't know. It's the public sector borrowing requirement. And so they go on, oh God, it's boring. What's on the other side, And so we switch off, understandably. And yet, the world financial system is as simple as can be. It can be summed up in one short sentence. You lend people money that doesn't exist and you charge them interest on it. That's it. Everything else comes out of that. This world is up to its neck in debt on money that has never, does not, and will never exist. And we stand for this.
The government is, communism is centralized government, capitalism is centralized banking. And the more you step back, you look at the big picture, the ultra-rich control the central banks. For example, the Rothschild Corporation, let's say there's 50 central banks, the Rothschilds own about 48 of them. Wow. And so you and I don't have a prayer because money makes the world go round. And the economy runs on money, like it or not.
Stage one, it's like throwing a fishing line out. Stage one, you put lots of money, units of exchange, into circulation. You do this by pushing interest rates down, by making lots of loans. This is the part of the cycle we call a boom. Because there's lots of units of exchange in circulation, there's lots of money changing hands. That generates lots of economic activity. That generates jobs. And as more and more money is spent, there's more demand. So companies take out more loans of fresh air money to increase their production. People get confident in their everyday lives. Hey, you know, I work for this company, they've got lots of orders, it's really going great, my job's safe, I tell you what, we can have a bigger house. Then they start to change it. What they do is they pull the fishing line in. They push interest rates up. Now, fewer people, are taking out loans, and they make the criteria for having a loan from the bank stronger anyway. And also, now, as interest rates have gone up, a larger part of people's income is going to pay back the extra interest and not being circulated in buying things. Suddenly, there's nothing like as much money in circulation, and therefore, fewer things are being bought. Companies start to go down in terms of their profits, they start to shed jobs, and they start to go out of business. People lose their jobs, they can't pay the mortgage anymore of the big house they took out in the good times. Now what the banks are doing is starting to reel the fishing line in, because as they go bankrupt, companies and individuals, the banks get the real wealth, the property, the land, the resources that they had signed to them for lending merely figures on a screen. Now this economic cycle of fishing line out, fishing line back, lots of units in circulation, pull them in, has been going on for centuries. And what it's done, it's stolen and accumulated the real wealth of the world in the hands of the few.
In global finance, America is king. It controls the world's financial plumbing and accounts for almost a quarter of the world economy. The dollar makes up most central bank reserves and is the currency of international trade. 80% of global supply chains use dollars, which gives America significant power.
Whoever controls the flows of money at the end of the day controls a lot of things in the economy and ends up being the puppet master of a lot of things that go on around the world.
So that's why I became a student of money back in the 80s. And I began looking at, I was a student of R. Buckminster Fuller, a guy who created the geodesic domes and all that. And he wrote a book called Grunge of Giants. Grunge stands for Gross Universal Cash Heist. It's how the ultra-rich steal our wealth. And so when I read Grunge of Giants in '83, I understood what my rich dad was telling me. That's when my rich dad, he read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it says the rich don't work for money because our money is toxic, our money is corrupt. Our financial system, or money, is designed to make the rich richer, but keep the poor and middle class poorer. And that's why our schools don't teach us about money, because the school system works for the central banks also.